In this one, I'm going to be installing these heavy duty 11-inch progressive 412 shocks, along with some Brown Industries fork covers and some 3-in-1 rear indicators from Hoglights on my 2015 Dyna Street bob. So the first thing to do is to remove the front wheel by loosening off the axle nut, then the axle pinch bolts, then I'm going to use a wooden mallet so I don't damage the thread on the axle, just to knock it out of place. Next up is to remove my front caliper so when I take the forks off it's not attached. And then all I need to do is loosen off these 4 pinch bolts to the triple trees. And voila, I can remove the forks. Now I'm just going to give the forks a quick polish before installing the lower fork covers. Then to install the forks into the lower triple trees, and I've got a second set of hands here just helping me hold it in place whilst I put the top fork covers on. And with the top fork covers in place, I can go ahead and install my forks into the top triple trees. Then just lightly tightening down one of the pinch bolts to hold the forks in place whilst I install the top fork covers. And as you can see, I need to loosen off the pinch bolt just to lower the fork down a little bit. Once those top fork caps are flush with the top of the triple trees, I can go ahead and tighten up all 4 pinch bolts on the triple trees. After tightening all the pinch bolts on the triple trees, I'm going to move on to tightening all the grub screws on the fork covers to secure them into place. Just starting with the grub screw on the lower cover, then the 2 grub screws on the top fork cover, and then the grub screw on the fork caps. Now just reinstalling the front brake caliper. Then the front spacer, wheel and axle. Again, just give the axle a tap into place with a wooden mallet and tighten down the axle nut. Now I'm going to swap out my stock rear shocks for the 412 progressive heavy duty shocks that are 11 inches in length, and the stock shocks are 12 inches in length. And in doing so, I'm also going to have to buy a shorter side stand, as my bike will sit too upright and a strong gust of wind will blow it over. So removing the shocks is quite easy. Just need to remove the bottom bolt on the swing arm, then the top bolt on the fender strut. Now I'm just going to sit the new shocks in place and secure the top mounting bolt. Obviously I can't go ahead and tighten down the bottom mounting bolt, as these shocks are a little bit shorter than the stock ones, and I've still got a shock on the right hand side of the bike. Now it's time to remove the other shock, and as there's tension on the swing arm, that bottom bolt is a little harder to remove. Now the shocks are mounted at the top, I'm going to go and mount them at the bottom, and I'm just lifting the swing arm up whilst I have a second set of hands insert the 2 lower mounting bolts. And voila, that is the progressive shocks installed. Easy as that. Now what I'm going to do is install the 3-in-1 rear indicators, and what I'm doing here is just removing the little brace inside the fender that secures the wiring in place. And as you can see with this rear brace, it's got a little metal tab here that goes through the fender strut, securing it into place. But because I'm using aftermarket indicators, I'm going to have to cut that off, then drill the hole out to 13mm, then install this nutsert, which the new indicators are going to screw into, securing them onto the rear fender struts. Hopefully, watching what I do will explain it a little bit better. So I'm going to take to that little metal lug with a hacksaw, And once that's removed, I'm going to use a 13mm drill bit to drill the hole out larger so that nutsert can fit in place. And that's the hole drilled out to 13mm, so this nutsert's going to be a nice tight fit, and I'm going to have to whack it into place with a hammer. So back in goes that little bracket inside the rear fender, and it acts as a little guide for your rear wiring to keep it from touching your back tyre, then to tighten down the front mounting bolt, and to do the same with the right hand side bracket. Cut that little lug off with a hacksaw, drill the hole out to 13mm, and install the nutsert. And now it's right to whack back into place. And as you can see here, my indicators have a thread inbuilt into them, and that's what's going to secure into that little nutsert. But I've also got here a little blanking plate that's going to go onto my indicators to cover the two holes in my rear fender strut. So just to run the wiring through that little blanking plate, and then put that thread on the indicators through that blank off plate. Now I'm going to be using some blue Loctite, and then to run the wiring through that little nutsert in the fender. Then just to tighten my rear indicator into place. And I'm just going to get it nice and snug. Then once it's in place, go ahead and tighten the nutsert underneath the fender with a wrench. And doing the same with the right hand side now. Get it nice and snug and in place, and tighten down the nutsert with a wrench on the inside of the fender. So Hoglights makes the wiring really easy for these indicators. The red wire on your Hoglights goes to the red wire on your factory wiring loom. Then the black wire on your Hoglights goes to the black wire on your factory wiring loom. Then the white wire on your Hoglights goes to the white wire on your factory wiring loom. And lastly, the only wire that's different is the yellow wire on your Hoglights that goes to the green wire on your factory wiring loom. And here you can see I'm using some shrink tape just to cover up my dodgy wiring job. And I didn't film it because there was a little bit of dicking around, but I reinstalled the wiring inside that little fender bracket. And now to test out the 3-in-1 rear indicators. And that is the Progressive 412 11-inch heavy duty shocks installed, along with the Brown Industries fork covers and 3-in-1 rear indicators from Hoglights. So that's all I'm going to be doing in this video. In the next video, what I want to do is get rid of the big chrome air cleaner on this bike and install a gloss black air cleaner. And I'll also be installing a shorter side stand. As I said earlier, this bike's going to sit too upright with that stock stand. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!